A new segment today for the Michigan Football Report is talking gambling, sports gambling on Michigan, Penn State, and how Michigan's odds look for the national championship, and even considering where does Shea Patterson sit in the Heisman race. Talking with our friends at BetDSI, I've got Brent Corobotiuc online, head of risk management for BetDSI. Brent, how are you doing today? Ready to talk some Michigan, Penn State?
Yeah, no, looking forward to a fantastic weekend. This game just alone has got so much volume already. So, whenever you get a lot of volume on one game, it makes our job a whole lot easier in terms of balancing the action. That's kind of what we're trying to do. Like, the less you have to move a number, the better off you are long term. And this game kind of has set up that way so far.
Yeah, so Michigan is a 10.5 point favorite. The over/under is 53.5. The sportsbooks, BetDSI has really liked Michigan the past few weeks. They were favored by 10 plus at home against Wisconsin. Then they went on the road and they're about a touchdown or so favorite against Michigan State, two ranked teams. Now they're playing their third ranked team again in a row. And again, double-digit 2-score favorites. What does a sportsbook? What do you guys like about Michigan to continue to make them big favorites against these ranked Big Ten teams?
Well, honestly, they've just been so solid for us lately, and it's kind of, with bettors, you kind of have to look into their psyche a little bit, and they're awfully finicky, I'm going to say, with Michigan. They like to go against them a lot of times for some reason. I don't know if it's like part of the Arbor stuff as well, where they're kind of waiting, looking for them to lose and picking spots. We find this just kind of switch sport. Like Floyd Mayweather, you find this a lot where he gets undervalued because people just want to bet against him. They want to see him lose. Now, this line here we thought was a solid number to go with right away. It opened at 10.5. It's pretty much stayed at 10.5. So we haven't had to move at all, and I've got good reaction as well. The funny thing here is that we've got a little bit more bets. And when I talk about the bet count, it's the actual individual number of bets. So I've got more bets actually on Penn State. I think that's kind of attributed to the fact that people are kind of waiting to see Michigan lose, or there's people there who want to see them lose as well. And 10.5 points seems like an attractive price, I think, when looking at Penn State. But we've got our money's pretty much even, despite the fact that I've got more bets on Penn State. Total as well. It's moved up basically 1 full point from the 52.5 that we opened. But that's just public money that drove that open so far. So right now, I'm getting, good to reaction. Like I said, a little bit more money on Michigan, more bets the other way on Penn State. Anytime we don't have to move a number like we have so far, 10.5 on Michigan, it's a good spot for us.
Yeah, so when you think about this, these two teams, the last 2 years, they have been absolute blowouts, with Michigan winning at home 49-10 a couple years ago, and then Penn State blew out a 5-loss Michigan team, what became a 5-loss Michigan team last year. Does past history between these teams and these coaches play into where this line is set, being at 10.5, and kind of how does prior seasons go into the thinking here for a sportsbook?
Yeah, you try not to look too much into past performances in terms of the fact that with college football you get such a high turnover a lot year after year. Obviously the coaches kind of stay stable in most cases, but you don't really look at past performances too much. You're kind of looking at current form, how teams have played so far. And, you're looking at Penn State. It kind of this year, the times that they've had to step up against Ohio State. They did lose a close game, but the fact is they did lose that game. They came off a bye, ended up losing to Michigan State as well, because they've kind of, they've had a chance to look good and make some big victories and kind of get back into the picture. Now you're looking at a Michigan team, that first game against Notre Dame it's just not a good game, I think, for Michigan. I think a poor performance all around, and since then they've really turned it on. Also, they're coming off Michigan State. You can kind of look at, maybe you might see an emotional factor where Michigan might be on a high off that win, because though it's they did beat them handily, it was kind of emotional in any time you play Michigan State. But to kind of combat that, they did have a bye week, so I think it's a good spot for Michigan again, and that's why they're 10.5 point favorite. Sometimes you look at teams who come off a big victory, kind of interstate victory, they might flop a little bit. This doesn't seem to be the case, and obviously against a team like Penn State, that's not likely. If they were playing Rutgers this week off the big win without a bye, you can see a letdown spot, but that just doesn't seem like it's going to happen here against Penn State, because it's such a big, high-profile game, and the fact that they had the bye.
For sure. So we are again joined by Brent Corobotiuc from BetDSI, their head of risk management. You can get 120% deposit bonus with BetDSI to bet in the Michigan-Penn State game, to bet on the over-under. As you heard, it popped up a point to 53.5, 10.5 point spread. Chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code GOBLUE. 120% deposit bonus to use in the Sportsbook and to use in the BetDSI casino. Brent, want to talk now about the Heisman Trophy odds, a name that Michigan football fans know and are now beginning to love, made a reappearance on the BetDSI Heisman Trophy odds, and that is Shea Patterson. Before we talk about Shea, though, want to talk about Tua Tagovailoa. He is an absurd Heisman Trophy favorite, minus 700. I don't think I've ever seen a player in the Heisman and MVP anywhere with this much time left in the season to be this heavy of a favorite. Basically, you got to put up $700 to win 100. Why is Tua seen as such a amazing front runner, according to the BetDSI odds?
Yeah, I mean, you start off with, of course, the team and how strong they are, and that's the first place you look for the Heisman Trophy stuff for this. Now, it's no slight against Michigan, even though they've only got that one loss. But Alabama's just like, you see them so many times. It's almost like men versus boys out there. And what this kid has done, I mean, he's a star. He really is a star, and he's kind of redefining Alabama as well. And I think he's just kind of overwhelming in terms of the fact that he does everything well. And again, you have to keep in mind too, people always look at stuff like this and they, a Heisman Trophy winner like this doesn't necessarily translate to a number one draft pick in the NFL. Patterson probably has the edge in that regard in terms of where he can be drafted. But in terms of the Heisman and everything that Tua's done so far, I think he's rightfully, a sizable favorite that he is. And again, look at the price. It is really, really quite steep. When you narrow down to it, it is pretty much, a two-horse race right now, maybe even not that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've had Tua, Kyler Murray, Dwayne Haskins at the top of the Chat Sports Heisman Trophy list for the past several weeks. It was a two-man race for a while with Tua and Dwayne Haskins, but with that loss to Purdue, Kyler Murray has overtaken him. I feel like you guys are baiting me into this, Brent, because I have actually made 3 bets on Shea Patterson to win the Heisman. If we get a chance, we're going to throw him up here on screen. I made one preseason when he was 165, 16, and a half to 1. Then after the Notre Dame loss, he was plus 6,500. Then it was plus 4,250 or something like that. Now he's back up there. You see on screens my bet. I tell you, if Shea Patterson comes out of nowhere and wins the Heisman, you guys are paying me some money. But what goes into kind of taking a player off versus putting him back on? Is it people betting it or not betting it, or is it other factors? Why was a player like Shea Patterson after that loss? He kind of went off the books for a while. Now he's back on them.
Yeah, definitely a loss will set you back. And again, when you look at the Heisman Trophy, you're usually looking at the top teams. So a loss definitely does, impact the stats of a guy who you thought might be a front runner. Even just like one loss could be, can go a long way. The latest rankings, of course, where Michigan's just kind of outside the top 4. You see how just one loss can have that effect. Now, you look at other teams like Central Florida who don't have a loss. There's all your schedule obviously plays into that factor. But you're looking at, again, when you're looking at Alabama and Tua, it's not so much about how his skills translate to the NFL. As I said, it's more about who's really the best player on his team, and you really got to say that Tua is that guy. I mean, they're a great team on both sides of the ball, but he's just got it all.
Great. We are speaking with Brent Corobotiuc, the head of risk management for BetDSI, talking about Michigan, Penn State, talking the Heisman Trophy and Shea Patterson's emergence. You can now bet on Shea Patterson to win the Heisman. Should Michigan win out, win a Big Ten, something happens to these other guys, injury or loss, you never know what could happen. Michigan football fans, you can bet on Shea Patterson to win the Heisman Trophy. Brent, let's talk now, lastly, as far as Michigan's concerned, about the college football playoff. Alabama, just like Tua, overwhelming favorite to win the college football playoff. And we look here at the odds via BetDSI. Alabama, basically, 3-1 favorite, 1-3, however you say it. Clemson's number 2, Notre Dame. Then you've got Michigan sitting there with the 4th best odds at basically 10-1 plus 1,000. What's got to happen for, Michigan? I guess why? Why is Michigan at 10-1 odds? Why better than Ohio State? Why better than other teams like Oklahoma?
I think if you look, though, just at the team that they have to go through, it's really, they are ahead of a few teams like Oklahoma, and perhaps they're just a little more well-rounded, I think, than Oklahoma. Even look at teams on the way outside. You've got Washington State, and kind of knocked their conference a bit, and I think that kind of affects some teams as well in overall ranking. You're looking at strength of schedule obviously comes into factor, so it's tough sometimes because a team can do well, but if they're doing well against teams who are kind of let down from what everyone expected, that kind of goes against them in terms of the strength of schedule ratings. Now Alabama obviously just has been rolling for everyone, and Clemson. I mean, you really have to look at those two teams as clearly the best of the bunch. Just kind of translating those odds into a chance of them, the probability, a break-even point of a minus 300 favorite is 75%. You're saying that Alabama is like a 75% chance to win it all. I mean, when you look at it, that they're probably going to be in the finals and they're probably going to be the favorite, it's probably not a bad price. It's not off that much at all. Obviously, it seemed earlier in the season, it seemed like it was a bit inflated when they were minus 250, but kind of week by week, we've kind of seen the things that we thought were true about Alabama really are true.
Sure. My counterpart, Tom Downey, on our college football playoff show, he had Alabama as his best bet on BetDSI for the CFP. I actually had Oklahoma 20-1 odds, where I would have put my money as my best bet, put down 10 to win 200. Lastly, Brent, want to talk about where the pro bettors, the sharps, are putting their money this week in college football. So the viewers here, they're going to get signed up with BetDSI, make that deposit, get the deposit, 128% deposit bonus, can make bets with the pro gamblers. So you've got Maryland, Oklahoma, Cal Washington over, Auburn, and then the Louisville Clemson under as the 5 plays for the sharps this week. Why these 5 games, and what game there sticks out to you in particular?
One of those spots that we really kind of look for in terms of managing our risk as a sports book is where we've got public bettors going one way and sharp bettors going the other way. And that first game on the board with Maryland +3 hosting Michigan State is one of those spots. I've got a really strong wager count favoring Michigan State. It's almost 5-1. And again, James, when I talk about wager count, I'm talking about the actual individual number of bets I have. So I've got almost 5 times more bets on Michigan State, which is really high. Yet the line is dropping. It did open at 3 and it's down to 2.5 now. So that tells you that the sharp money is on Maryland. I did actually take sharp money here, +3 on Maryland, and I'm pretty much marking wide that number's up. So when you see a public and sharp split like that, that's kind of a good spot, because the number can kind of hang close to where the sharps bet it, and you can still get a close number just because the public's going the other way. Oklahoma, that's another one where they laid 10, which is a really good number for the sharps. You find that sharps not only get the right side, but they usually get the right price as well. Oklahoma -10 was a sharp bet. That line is up with 13.5 right now. Cal Washington State over, that's usually not a good spot for us, simply because the public will generally bet overs, and they have in this case as well. So I got sharp one in the over 48.5. The public has kind of tailed that as well from 49.5 up to 50 where we are right now. Auburn -3.5, hosting Texas A&M. That line's up to 4 right now, so it's moved a little bit. Counts pretty much even in terms of the number of bets I've taken. And Louisville Clemson, this is another one where I've got sharp money on the public money on the over. The line hasn't moved a ton. It's gone from under 62 where sharp money came down to 61 where we are right now. But I've got to count the leader almost 3 times as much on the over. So it's interesting. We've had Clemson as a sharp play, or at least one of the plays the last 3 weeks in a row. The last 2 weeks, it was Clemson's side that got the money that were sharp plays. This week it's the under, James.
Great. Thank you so much. His name is Brent Corobotiuc. He is joining us from BetDSI, our sportsbook partner here at Chat Sports in the Michigan Football Report. Go ahead and get hooked up with them today. Go to chatsports.com/bet. We'll redirect you to our page on BetDSI. Use that promo code GOBLUE for 120% deposit bonus. I am James Yoder, the face of Michigan football media. We will see you soon.